Ashley Benefield met her husband Douglas Benefield in August 2016 at a dinner party in Florida. At the time, Doug was 54 and Ashley was 24, but age hardly mattered. At the time they met, Ashley worked in the campaign office of Donald Trump in Sarasota, Florida. Doug was a consultant from South Carolina, a former Navy pilot who worked with technology companies and defense contractors. According to Alice Robb, a contributing writer for Vanity Fair magazine, Doug just immediately thought Ashley was the most beautiful and the most amazing person in the world. She said, "They were saying, 'I love you' to each other within, I think, a week or so. They got married after knowing each other for only 13 days. They were married by Doug's close friend, Trip Cormany, who was at the time an ordained Episcopal minister. He wondered about the timing, but ultimately agreed to marry them because he was loyal to his friend. Doug's teenage daughter Eva admits there was friction between her and Ashley. Doug wanted Eva to have a motherly figure in her life after losing her own mother only 9 months earlier. Eva felt that she did not need that. She had already been through significant trauma when she came home from school to discover her mother, Renee's lifeless body. She had passed away of an undiagnosed heart ailment. Doug stepped up after her mother passed away. He made sure Eva could come to him about anything. Was it boy problems or school drama? He would take care of it. But their close relationship suffered after Ashley moved in. Eva said she felt like Ashley was taking away her best friend. Ashley is a former ballerina and swimsuit model who founded a groundbreaking ballet company. Ashley had a dream to create an inclusive ballet company featuring all body types and ethnicities. Friends said Doug wanted to make Ashley happy, and he was determined to make her dream a reality. Dancers from all over the country began arriving in Charleston at the end of the summer of 2017 to join the American National Ballet. Ashley also wanted to be a mother, and in July 2017, she became pregnant. The tensions with Eva continued to grow in the household, and one day, after Doug and Ashley argued about Eva, Doug lost his temper and fired a gun into the ceiling of their home. Those who knew him said it was not like him. The same friend that married them said Doug told him that he did the dumbest thing ever in his life. Ashley told Doug and others that she felt nauseous during her pregnancy. She moved back to Florida, where her mother could care for her full-time. Doug agreed to her moving back to Florida, but Ashley took it further than he ever expected. On a night when he was hosting a party for the American National Ballet, Ashley drove back to his house and left a 4-page letter listing all his inadequacies and more. In the note, Ashley called Doug possessive and controlling. She wrote the incident when he'd fired a gun into the ceiling had left her fearful for her life and the safety of her unborn child. Eva said she could see the look in her father's eyes. His heart was broken. The following months were an increasingly rough time for Doug. The funding for the ballet never fully materialized, and the ballet company fell apart. Ashley unleashed several accusations against Doug. She claimed he was poisoning her with tea and accused him of poisoning his wife, Renee. Her claims were investigated, but nothing was found to substantiate the charges. Ashley did not inform Doug when their daughter was born in March 2018, and she did not put his name on the birth certificate. It took 6 months before he was allowed to see her after a judge intervened. Somehow, the couple patched up their differences, and for a year, they seemed mostly happy. Then, in the spring of 2020, Ashley suggested a move to Maryland with their then 2.5-year-old daughter and Ashley's mother, Alicia Byers. Doug agreed to the move. On September 27, 2020, Doug helped Ashley pack their possessions into a U-Haul truck. Around 7 p.m., Ashley's mother took her granddaughter out to a nearby park, and Ashley and Doug were alone in the house. A neighbor suddenly heard screaming and called 911. Ashley walked to a different neighbor with a gun in her hand and told the neighbor she shot Doug in self-defense. The neighbor then called 911. When police and medical workers responded, Doug was still alive but unable to speak. He passed away an hour later at a nearby hospital. While Ashley made no statements to sheriff deputies, her mother and her lawyer, Faith Brown, did. Her mother said she and Ashley had been living in fear of Doug for 3.5 years. She claimed they tried to get help from the authorities, but that no one would help them. Ashley's allegations against Doug had been investigated by the authorities, but Doug was never charged with a crime. Alicia, Ashley's mother, said that Doug knows how to play the game. Faith, her lawyer, told police that Ashley was planning to get away from Doug once and for all and had an escape plan. She said Ashley had a safe place to stay, a burner phone, and a rental car rented under a different name. She told deputies that Ashley wanted to put the plan into effect the next day because she was afraid Doug had gotten wind of it. Investigators determined that Doug had been shot twice while he was turned away from Ashley. He was shot once in the leg and once in the arm, and that bullet traveled into his chest cavity. The shooting happened in Ashley's bedroom. Ashley did not deny pulling the trigger, but argued that she did it in self-defense. The only person that knows what really happened is Ashley, but she hasn't made any statements. 5 weeks after the shooting, Ashley was arrested and charged with second-degree charges. She pleaded not guilty. She was released on bond after spending about 2 weeks in jail. The case has been dubbed the Black Swan Trial. The media's nickname for the case came from the 2010 film Black Swan, about a psychologically disturbed ballet dancer. Ashley told the court that she feared for her life and acted in self-defense when she fatally shot her husband during what she described as a terrifying confrontation with him at her home south of Tampa. Prosecutors said evidence from the day of the shooting did not match her description of the confrontation. The prosecution argued that she did not have to shoot him, and they accused Ashley of using unfounded allegations of domestic abuse against her husband to obtain sole custody of their child. Suzanne O'Donnell, assistant state attorney for Florida's 12th Judicial District, told jurors she had an agenda, she got what she wanted. O'Donnell said in her opening statement, "This was a custody battle that this mother was going to win at all costs. The cost was the life of Doug Benefield, and that is slaying." Ashley's other lawyer, Neil Taylor, countered that she filed numerous complaints, calling Doug's behavior to the attention of authorities with no results. Ashley told the court that her husband blocked her from leaving her home, hit her in the face, and lunged at her while she had her gun drawn and was pleading with him to stop. The pair were alone when he was shot, and there was no video of the confrontation. The judge revoked Ashley's $100,000 bond and remanded her in the custody of the Manatee County Sheriff's Office. On July 30th, 2024, she was charged with second-degree slaying, but jurors convicted her of the lesser charge of manslaughter. The manslaughter conviction offers a mandatory minimum of 11.5 years, with a potential sentence of up to 30 years in prison. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison in December 2024. She has appealed the verdict and is requesting bond during her appeal. It remains unclear whether Ashley really did fear for her life, or if she's a manipulative black swan straight out of a Hollywood film. On the morning of March 31st, 2023, Madeline Kingsbury went missing under suspicious circumstances after dropping off her and her ex-boyfriend Adam Fravel's 2 children at daycare in Winona, Minnesota. She was reported missing after failing to show up for work at the Mayo Clinic. The police launched an investigation, and the discovery of her van's unusual route on the day of her disappearance raised red flags. Surveillance footage captured the van traveling towards the rural areas of Fillmore County. Adam denied any involvement in her disappearance and said, "I want the mother of my 5-year-old and 2-year-old to be found and brought home safely. I want that more than anything." Megan Kingsbury, Madeline's sister, also called for help in finding her sister. She said, "The children need their mother, we need our daughter, our sister, our aunt, and our best friend back." On April 7th, over 2,600 people joined for a 2-day search, but the search proved unfruitful. A month later, on May 5th, the community held a prayer vigil. Madeline's father said, "We know that Madeline is around here somewhere. She just didn't vanish. Someone knows something. Someone saw something. Make this your battle cry. Where's Madeline? Where is she? Make it loud, and don't stop until she's found." Adam filed for custody of his 2 children, but on June 5th, a judge denied and ordered the children to stay with their maternal grandparents, who had been caring for them since the beginning of April. On June 7th, 26-year-old Madeline's remains were found in a heavily wooded area off Highway 43 near Mabel, Minnesota, in Fillmore County. Adam was arrested that same day on probable cause and charged 2 days later. Madeline was found near a rural property owned by Adam's parents. Her body was wrapped in a gray-fitted bedsheet that came from her and Adam's home. The autopsy report shows that she lost her life due to asphyxiation. A towel was wrapped around her neck and covered half of her face. Adam told the police that he and Madeline were newly separated, and in the process of moving out of the Winona home they shared with their children after 7 years of an on-and-off relationship. In interviews with the police, Adam referenced another prominent case of a missing woman, Gabby Petito, who was strangled to her end by her fiancé Brian Laundrie in August 2021. According to the complaint, Adam admitted to being infatuated with the Gabby Petito case. He admitted that he had made a statement to Madeline about her ending up like Gabby Petito, but then he claimed that he was trying to make a joke. During Adam's trial in October 2024, friends and family who testified in court referenced an instance of domestic abuse in September 2021 when Adam put his hand around Madeline's neck and pushed her. The defense argued that there was no history of abuse and no indications of struggle at the crime scene. During closing arguments, the prosecution told the jurors that Adam had the motive, means, and opportunity to take Madeline's life. The prosecutors argued that Adam was abusive and controlling, and that he was jealous after Madeline told him she'd begun a new relationship. On November 7th, the verdict came 10 hours after a jury began deliberations, following a month-long trial. 30-year-old Adam Fravel was found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree slaying and 2 counts of second-degree slaying. Adam's attorney, Zachary Bauer, said that he was disappointed in the outcome. Madeline's loved ones spoke in court, with her father saying after the verdict that, "It's a Pyrrhic victory. We're not going to get Madeline back. Fravel can't be punished enough." The victim's brother, Stephen, added, "At the end of the day, you have to trust the process. The truth kind of rises to the top, and the evidence, it always comes out." On December 17th, Adam was sentenced to life in prison. On December 8, 2020, the Canton Police Department responded to a Cherokee County, Georgia, home where they found 13-month-old Hannah Nicole Driver with stab wounds. The baby's mother, Chloe Alexis Driver, who was described as having life-threatening injuries from the incident, was also taken to the hospital. Hannah later lost her life in the hospital. Chloe was in a serious condition at Wellstar Kennestone Hospital for weeks. When she was discharged from the hospital, the police arrested her. Chloe grabbed a knife from the kitchen at the property, where she was with a group of 2 men and 3 women believed to be part of a polygamous lifestyle cult, and stabbed her daughter in the neck before stabbing herself. The baby's father, Benjamin Mikhail, was one of the people present at the property when the incident took place. He attempted life-saving measures until first responders arrived at the scene, whom stated that Hannah was stabbed 4 times. During Chloe's trial in November 2024, she said the following to the judge addressing her mental health: "Though I may not legally meet the definition of insanity as of today, I know in the bottom of my heart that I was, because I never would have done what I did had it not been for my decompensation. In the end, we can't go back and undo the bad no matter how much we want to, but we can learn from it and prevent it from happening again. I will continue to seek help for my mental illness because of this." Dr. Jacqueline Zahm said that she evaluated Chloe following the crime and documented her findings in a 38-page report, which she shared with the court. The following is what Chloe said had happened. The day of the stabbing, she finished breastfeeding Hannah and laid her down on a bed in their home. She then went downstairs to the kitchen and grabbed a knife out of the butcher block before going back upstairs to the bedroom. She locked the door behind her and the chaos unfolded. At first, she debated where to stab Hannah. According to Dr. Zahm's report, Chloe said, "I think the throat might end us immediately." Dr. Zahm said that Chloe told her that she decided to stab Hannah, as well as herself, because she wanted them to lose their lives right away. And characters in the video games she played always passed away instantly when stabbed. She then stabbed Hannah multiple times in the throat, but was worried why her child didn't lose her life immediately. Chloe said that the toddler was quiet and bleeding out. That's when she stabbed herself 3 times in the throat. She was stunned that she was still alive, said Zahm, so she tried to stab herself again, this time in the heart. At that point, the authorities were called and rushed to the scene. Hannah's father, Benjamin, said, "Chloe Alexis Driver wasn't a victim. She believed she could take the life of a baby out of the world." Benjamin had at least 2 other wives. The district attorney claimed that Chloe ended their daughter's life because she wanted Benjamin all to herself. Chloe said that she was seeing signs that convinced her that Benjamin and the other wives wanted her to take her own and Hannah's life. She was often seeing knives in her vicinity and thought she had magical powers and could read minds. Dr. McClendon Garrett, a staffer at the Georgia Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities, conducted a clinical interview with Chloe. She testified, saying that she determined that Chloe suffered from paranoia as well as experienced delusions, which she described as fixed false beliefs in something even if there is evidence of the contrary. Chloe was convicted of multiple counts, including malice slaying, felony slaying, first-degree cruelty to children, and aggravated assault, but found mentally ill. 4 years after the demise of Hannah, on December 12th, her 24-year-old mother has been sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole. Due to Hannah's age, Chloe was also sentenced to 20 years to be served concurrently. Georgia law states that Chloe would have to serve 30 years of her life sentence before being eligible for parole. Before announcing the sentencing, the judge said that the crime was a heinous offense with evidence that was so graphic and so traumatic that I began to do research on what kind of support and help we could give the jurors who were having to consider it. She said, "A parent taking the life of a child is something that just offends us on the deepest level. It is a wrong that just is unfathomable. It just cannot be understood, and it scares us because it is so contrary to just fundamental moral behavior and what we expect of the bonds between human beings." During the sentencing, Chloe expressed remorse for her actions. "I am terribly sorry for many things in my life, but most of all for who was lost, and I always will be. Every single day, I live with my guilt. I see her everywhere, in everything. She lives on and shows me that beauty can be found anywhere, even where I'm going, because I can feel her in my tears." On December 24th, 2023, 24-year-old Dylan Thomas, the grandson of the pie company tycoon, Sir Stanley Thomas, ended the life of his friend, 23-year-old William Bush, at their home in Llandaff, Cardiff, in Wales, United Kingdom. Dylan and William had been friends since they were about 13 years old, having met at Christ College Brecon, a private school in mid-Wales. Dylan had been staying at his grandmother's house, just outside Cardiff, in the Vale of Glamorgan. He told his grandmother, Sharon Burton, that he wanted to go back to the house he shared with William to walk his dog, Bruce. Sharon sat in the car while Dylan went inside, before returning minutes later, banging on the window covered in blood. She carried out CPR on William until paramedics arrived. He sustained 37 stab wounds in the attack, including 16 to the neck, and people on the street described horror screams from inside the house. During Dylan's trial in November 2024, his grandfather, Stanley Thomas, the founder of Peter's Pies and whose wealth is estimated at more than £200 million, sat in court throughout the trial. The jury heard that, before going to the house from his grandmother's, Dylan had researched the anatomy of the neck online. Dylan was described to the jury as being something of a loner, while William was more outgoing and active. Dylan sent chilling Snapchat messages to William the night before he ended his life, where he typed multiple question marks in the repeated messages, asking when he was going to leave. Dylan had been arrested for trying to enter Buckingham Palace a few months before the attack. He told the officers that he was looking for energy fields between the palace and Cleopatra's Needle, an obelisk in central London. The prosecutor, Greg Bull, KC, said the motive of the slaying was hidden. He said, "To all intents and purposes, they were good friends, and that's one of the mysteries of this case. We don't know what caused Dylan Thomas to act in the way he did." The defense argued that Dylan was mentally unwell at the time, insisting there was a gamut of signs of psychosis, but the prosecution said that he had shown clear thinking before the attack. Dr. Panchu Xavier, a consultant forensic psychiatrist, said that Dylan could have been having a psychotic episode during the attack, and for up to 6 months before the event. The court was told that in the months before the attack, Dylan had confessed to his friend that he had thought about taking William's life. William's girlfriend, Ella Jeffries, told the court that her partner had barricaded his door, fearing Dylan would enter. Prosecutor Bull said that Dylan was in a downward spiral, while William was achieving success with a job, girlfriend, and plans to buy or rent a house. Outside the court, William's sister Katrin said, "My family have been completely devastated by the brutal and senseless slaying of our much-loved Will. Words cannot describe the impact this has had on our family. Will was innocently getting ready to return back to Brecon to spend Christmas with us all when the attack took place, and instead of Will arriving at our door for dinner on Christmas Eve, it was the police whom delivered the beyond devastating news. Dylan Thomas is an evil, manipulative liar. We have seen no evidence of any remorse or taking responsibility for his actions that day. We can only hope that he will never be released back into the community. Dylan had admitted to manslaughter by reason of diminished responsibility, but on November 21st, he was found guilty of slaying after a week-long trial at Cardiff Crown Court. He appeared before the court by video link from Ashworth High Secure Hospital, Liverpool, where he is being treated for schizophrenia. He looked impassive as the verdict was read. On December 16th, Dylan Thomas was sentenced.